Welcome to this edition of the BCast. Thanks for joining me today. In March of this year, we had Craig Migliaccio join us in person at our annual live event here in Birmingham. What a great guest and consummate instructor that he is. In fact, I left a little bit of the forward on the video that you're about to see because he was actually at his table instructing a couple of guys who come in early right before we did this interview. So he never stops teaching, and what a great guest he was. He brought his assistant Brandon Price with him. Those two guys together were just such a great team and a thrill for us to have here in Birmingham. Here is a live interview I did with Craig, and I hope you enjoy it, and I'll talk to you afterwards. There he comes.
Sorry, I was teaching a little bit.
I know. Yeah, I saw the batteries. You were teaching, the consummate teacher. I love that about you. All right, it's going to be informal. You know, you've done 1,000 of these. Just going to get to know you a little bit. Okay, all right. Hey, my guest today on the BCast, very special guest, Craig Migliaccio is with us from AC Service Tech. Doesn't really need an introduction. Everyone in our industry now who logged into YouTube at all, I think he comes up first. On my search you do, and it's very nice to have you with us, Craig.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me here. It's awesome.
Really an honor here. I just want to go through a few things with you. Number one, you've told me these things. Just kind of share how you got into this industry. You shared at dinner last night so eloquently, and if you just kind of sort of, how did you get from there to where you're at now as far as all the different aspects of what you do?
So I was thinking what I wanted to do for a living, and thinking that basically every home, every building has a heater, and a lot of them have air conditioners, and they all have a water heater. So I was thinking, as far as a career goes, HVAC was something that, even if there was a recession or something like that, I would always have work. And so that would be the main reason why I came into HVAC. Most of the people in my family were carpenters, so I was the odd sheep out. And I thought I wanted to work on automobiles at first, but I decided to keep that as a hobby and then just kind of pursue HVAC. And I started with a company. I did not go to school for HVAC. I just learned in the field. Right. And so I worked for a company for about 3 months, and it was a bad, kind of a not good atmosphere. People were kind of stealing time in the service truck at the convenience store. I was the apprentice, and I was yelling at them to get back to the job site because I want to learn more, I want to become more valuable, and I'm just yelling at them.
You're a thorn in their flesh now.
Yeah, well, and so I left there and went to another company, and they put me with the installation manager of 36 years. Okay. And I had a notebook. During lunchtime, I was asking questions, and I also was asking questions while we were working together. So we'd be piping a boiler together, and I'm asking them questions. I said, "Hey, do you mind if I ask you some of these things while we're working? Right. You know, you need to tell me if you think I'm slowing down, because I don't want to lessen the workflow, but I do want to learn, and I want to take advantage of the time we have together." And he said, "No, that's fine." And so he really enjoyed that, and so I was really thankful for that.
I wish I would have been a contractor at the time. I would have hired you in a heartbeat. you do not come along every day. No. But that is terrific. But then you, when you began your teaching, yes, you sort of came in through the trade school or the VOTEC type
yes,
way of teaching,
yes,
in classroom.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So, do you want to know the preparation for that, or do you want to know once I got in there?
Once you got in.
All right, once I got in.
We know the preparation. we went over that.
Yeah. So, in reference to the preparation, because I never went to HVAC school, I felt not good enough, and so I was doing a lot of the testing and things at night or after the students left for the day, because I wanted to make sure I was not just passing on information that was just passed on to me. Sure. I wanted to make sure that it was absolutely correct and say the best way to do it. And once again, I didn't go to a technical school, so I had no idea what should be taught or what shouldn't be taught. I was looking through these big fat manuals and things like that, and I'm thinking this 15-year-old kid is not going to be sitting here wanting to go through all of this crazy engineering language that doesn't even tell him the procedure in which to do the job. And so I started putting procedures together, you know, step by step, so that they could follow that, easily download the information and the procedures.
Part of your curriculum. You're making a curriculum.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what it was. And so making projects and curriculum and things for anybody from a learning disability, that has learning disabilities and has a hard time understanding the technical knowledge, but maybe they were good with the skills and things like that, to somebody that's just flying through work and you want to try to push all parties at the same time and continue to allow them to grow. So it's been a big journey.
That has been quite a bit. And then you also, did you run your own service company?
Yes.
So a brief time during this period, was it not?
So I had my contracting business for about 17 years. And then I ended up shutting that down and just am doing AC Service Tech educational company full-time. But I did have the contracting business while I was teaching at the school, and I just took on the clients that I had to tighten it up a little bit. It was still too much, but I had to tighten it up.
It was a lot,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then when you went from contracting to full-time AC Service Tech, training, that was a big leap.
Well, yeah, I was at the school and doing the contracting business, and then ended up leaving the school and coming to push through and try to finish the first book I was writing, and kind of help try to develop the educational resources for everybody else in AC Service Tech. It was a huge leap. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, today you're here in Birmingham with us at a live event, and graciously with your time and your efforts and your presence here. So glad to have you here. You are introducing and have introduced about the first of the year a new book that you put together regarding inverter mini-splits, which is one of the hottest topics. We get phone calls constantly at BTrained. Are you doing any specific training on mini-splits? Any specific? And it's not in our purview, but you've done it. What prompted this book, and what did you do to put this book together, if you can put that simply? Yeah. In 30 minutes or less.
Oh, okay. A lot of technicians were asking us to develop some type of training for mini splits, and they were like, "You're the person that needs to do this," and we're like, "Yeah, right, yeah, haha." And so we were thinking, what's the next book that we want to do? Do we want to do electrical? Do we want to do gas furnaces, mini splits? What do we want to do? And there was just so much push that somebody needs to put something together for these. Somebody has to do all the experimentation, and you got to break these complex systems down. They've been over in Europe for 20 years, and they've been using R32 for 20 years, and now we have these things in North America, and they're becoming more and more popular due to the electrical efficiency, and we all need to know some type of generalistic way of working on them, and so that's the thing. Every manufacturer builds them different, so we're trying to think about the refrigeration cycle is going to be very similar on all of them, and basically the system is controlling the refrigerant and airflow, and then you have a lot of the same components. And so if we can demystify how these things work by taking it one component at a time, so first with the refrigeration cycle and then one component at a time, it's like detailing a car, and you can get all the details together, and once you do that, it becomes a very nice looking thing, very good thing when you're done.
Sure. In prepping for this book, or in your study, I guess, in your research, did you go to manufacturers and ask for certain things, or is this a compilation of everybody's idea, hey, we all kind of agree on this? Or is this just, like you said, generic refrigeration, and this is inversion technology?
So we asked manufacturers to help us. We had one main manufacturer, Cooper & Hunter, to give us some technical data in order to get the information. There's information out there that we had to come up with ourselves, because there's definitely there's a lot to them, and the circuit boards they're programmed by the circuit board manufacturer, and so you have like a lot of different layers to all of this. And even with the EEV, we had to come up with that basically ourselves, as far as how do we take this complex quote unquote stepper motor and break that down into language that somebody normal like us can understand, and that's always the goal. How do you talk normally to convey the information to make somebody else more valuable? So it's a lot of those types of things we had to do ourselves. Me and Brandon had to wrestle through the designs in order to be able to display, as well as having the words to describe how each of the components work, so that we could help demystify it. So it was a lot of research, and we had different manufacturers' equipment at our shop. We did testing and a lot of testing in order to try to convey the message properly.
Yeah. I saw and I'm going to mention this, I saw you sent me actually photographs of you with the mini splits with cardboard.
Yes.
You were
yes,
using
that-
it in your testing?
Yes.
Were you just making adjustments and?
Yeah, we were doing airflow and delta T measurements and trying to measure the voltage pulses due to the EEV. We were cutting into them and trying to do testing and see how each one is different. We had to do a lot of research and, I mean, a lot of scrapyard runs and things like that to see like what is all of the old style motors and things that you could run into, and how are the older ones built compared to the newer ones in reference to inverter mini splits.
Right.
You know, we also had single speed mini splits as well, and so we had to do a lot of the research to figure out how they were all different, but then how they're all alike, because we're not interested in making a book for specifically one manufacturer's system, because you have service technicians are going out and having to service everybody's.
And that's what I appreciate about your book. I've mentioned that many times to several of my associates. I like your book because it's not brand specific. It is. This is the technology. Anybody who sells any brand, services any brand, can take your book and be very beneficial at handling this. I think that's a huge plus for that. Yeah. How long did it take you to totally start to finish the book? Start to publish?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
The first book took 3 years.
So you're getting better.
yeah. Well, and then in the middle of all this, you know, you're not done a book until you're done.
True.
And so you're questioning in your own mind, is this going to be good enough? You know, we have probably another 150 pages we could have put into the thing, and it's just
there's always more you can add.
Yeah, we can't.
When do you tone it back?
Right, and the big purpose for this book is the operation and also the service procedures for these systems in order to install them or troubleshoot them, and how they work. That's the big things, because technicians may be willing to install them. I've heard of this a lot, where technicians are not willing, or companies are not willing to service them. They'll put them in, but they don't want to service them. And so that's a problem as well.
They don't know how.
Right.
They don't know where to begin.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem is when all the technicians are saying, hey, manufacturers, we need you to provide training, they're saying, well, how are we even supposed to do that? I mean, across the board, with all the manufacturers. And so everything has a lag on it. And so we have all this equipment. You always have the equipment before you have the training. Yeah. And you have new equipment and you want the training, and you're like, that has to come hand in hand, but that's just not how it works in real life. Because they're trying to manufacture it as quickly as they can to get their new systems out. I mean, like all manufacturers across the board with the new technologies, and then after that, they have to have enough of those systems to then have the right trainers in order to then break the information down in order to then convey it to the technicians. And so it's a crazy thing.
It's daunting.
Yes.
It makes me tired thinking about it. But you have certainly put together great. You are teaching today for 4 hours, basically using your book as the basis. Inverter mini-split technology, servicing, installation, and that's like, again, it's going to be a terrific afternoon. Changing course for a second.
Okay.
I want a one-word answer. First thing comes to your mind. You ready? First word: A2L refrigerants.
Okay.
I like it. You didn't say boom.
It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay. They've been using it
Absolutely.
overseas for a long time.
They have to, but we are all a tizzy in the United States about it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm getting constant phone calls. Again, are you going to teach a class about A2L refrigerants? No.
Well, here's the thing. It's like R32. It's a single component refrigerant. We've been dealing with R410A.
Right.
It's two components.
Two components. That's right.
And so you
we're going back to a single component.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
And a lot of
win-win. Yeah. You just got to be careful.
That's right.
That's right. Well, you know, and it's just a world of I guess chaos out there about it, as far as in our industry, and people look for information and they just don't find it as easy as they could about it, or this so varied or whatever. And all everybody hears is what they hear at the counter of the supply store. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's bad. But it's really a great refrigerant.
Yeah.
Propane's a great refrigerant.
Right.
You know. So, have you looked at the certification process with A2Ls? I've looked at ESCO's version, and they already have a test and a workbook out. I've read on my desk at the office, in fact, and it's pretty good. Yeah. It's pretty good. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to wait to see what the EPA kind of mandates in reference to that. Everything else is optional at this point. The tool manufacturers are getting their testing done and their certification, or at least they have been for the last 2 years, that their equipment will work with A2L refrigerants. And then you have The equipment manufacturers are doing some adjustments. It depends on what refrigerant we're talking about as far as the system, and also a lot of it has to do with how the compressor is designed as well. And so you can't just take R32 and put it in an R410A system, and there's just a bunch of different, even oil return, I mean, is an issue. The type of oil in the system, the compressor design, there's all kinds of things that are different.
Anytime you vary the speed of a motor, things have to happen. Things have to be taken care of. Just real quick, I want to finish up with this. You're the virtual world. Do you teach in classrooms now? You do not presently have a classroom per se?
Right. So we have we just got our shop a couple years ago, and so we're retrofitting one of the rooms in order to make it into more of a classroom.
Okay.
So we'll see what the future holds, and it all has to do with time. And as we continue to build out our team and have the right people in place, that may happen in the future a little bit. But at this point right now, I'm going out and getting opportunities to be able to speak. Like, I appreciate you having us here, and I love getting in front of people and teaching hands-on or whatever it may be, because it's all about people. I mean, I love HVAC, but it really is a tool for all of us to support our families, and I want the best for any technician that is eager to learn, because I'm all for somebody that is eager and really going after the information. That person should become more valuable. That they're putting their time in.
Sure.
And so then that's going to allow for a better family life, because they're more valuable, and maybe they're not on call all the time. You have to kind of take care of your family first. And that's what it's all about.
This is a company culture. We've been speaking of that for years. You met Tina White, and Jamie, her husband. We try to build a culture at their company where take care of your service techs.
Absolutely.
Take care of their families.
Yes.
And it really, really is beneficial for everyone. Just going from I love teaching in front of people instead of a camera. The camera just,
I agree.
It's really strange to look at this camera and talk to it. I love people, but we're in a world now, society now, and generations now, they'd rather look at that phone and that YouTube video than sit in a classroom. And what you do is so tremendous. I mean, you practically, I watch your videos, you practically do it all for them. You can't reach out and put their hand on it, but they still have to have that hands-on.
Yes.
And so, the tech school,
Absolutely.
the trade schools are so important, and you have a heart for that. I heard you say that last night. I could tell when you talk about it, you're very passionate about it.
About which thing?
About
just teaching in general?
Teaching in general, and getting their hands on things and making them understand it through not only the theory, but through the practice as well.
Yeah. I mean, you can watch the videos and you'll get the knowledge base, and so exactly what you're doing is a beautiful thing, because you get to be that in-person individual that's investing in people. And so the questions that they may have, they can't ask somebody like myself through online. I can't get to everybody. That's the problem. I got to this point where we had to answer like 14,000 comments, and I can't do it. There's just too much. And
It's overwhelming.
The doing the videos, it's kind of in my way. I would rather be in front of people, but this allows us to be able to get the information out to everybody. So it's kind of I don't know what you want to call it, suffering through it. Like you have to get it perfect and make sure you get it right and make a good high quality video so that you can get it in front of everybody, but you're doing the work that needs to happen as far as developing those skills and pouring into people in the hands-on, which is something that at this point right now I'm not able to do. So it's just kind of, we're all work as a team to help teach the next generation of tech. So I appreciate everything you're doing.
But the world you're in now is so important, because everyone is tied to that phone, they're tied to that video, they're tied to that that digital information. And so if they can get that, and then be able to go practice it as well.
I was explaining last night that what was told to me when you got stuck on the service calls, you have to just stop and then go walk out to the street, clear your head, and then come back in and continue working on it, trying to figure it out. And like you had mentioned, it's usually something maybe obvious in that case.
Right.
And a big thing for me was like furnace pressure switches, or the circuit boards in the blower motor, or something like that, or a flame rectification problem, or a lot of those types of issues I remember struggling through. But nowadays a technician gets stuck and they immediately can go into their phone, type into Google, ask a question, or go onto YouTube and watch a video.
That's right.
And it's huge. And everybody, the whole point of all of this is that people learn in different manners. So some people learn well by listening, and some by doing, and some by watching.
Right.
And the thing is, once you wrap all of those senses together,
right,
and you do a little bit of all of it,
right,
that helps to transmit the information to somebody. So it's huge.
We can cover all the bases.
Yeah.
The digital basis, I'm sitting here having a sandwich at lunch in my truck watching a video basis, and I'm going to go out here and do it.
Right.
And then be able to go to a class somewhere that actually gives you the hands-on experience.
Absolutely, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Well, you're very passionate about it, and what your channel, your company, your products are top notch. We have, I told you last night, you have your posters at our Birmingham office framed up. Basic AC system, heat pump, heating mode, refrigeration system. We have them all over the place because they're just top quality stuff you put out.
Right. Yeah, I mean those posters, I would like to see them hung in all the schools across the country, really, and so that and you could hang it right in front or right above the unit you're working on.
Yeah.
So my goal is that if they're checking, say, the refrigerant charge or something like that, and they're measuring superheat, subcooling, I want the technician to picture the refrigeration cycle by when they're measuring their pressures first. Measuring their pressures to convert them to temperatures, but I basically want them, when they're in the field, to then visualize that refrigeration cycle, because what's going to happen is it's not just a matter of undercharged, correctly charged, overcharged. Then they're going to be able to determine real quickly if it's a liquid line restriction problem. They're not going to have to add refrigerant into it or something like that in order to check if there's an issue.
Exactly.
With the mini-split systems, you need to understand that the manufacturers have not given us a way to necessarily lock the system out. They haven't given us a target superheat, and I would invite somebody to, one of the manufacturers to,
sure,
and all we can do is communicate these things. Even single speed systems, why are we putting the gauges on? If you can take the tubing in the middle of the coil of the outdoor unit and the indoor unit and maybe stick that out into the front case and put a little cover over it, then all we have to do is put a temperature meter on it. You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing? There's a lot of things that could be improved, and it just takes a manufacturer to change a little bit in order to then be the one leading the way.
Be a little more service conscious.
Correct.
In their manufacturing.
Yes.
And sometimes we get that. Over the years, all the years I've been in, I've seen. Sometimes I go, hey, this is easier to check this, but overall, especially with the mini splits have taken over.
Mm-hmm.
I know more. I just put a 3-head in my house, and I love it. So it's not going away. It's not one of those fly-by-night things. This is it.
Right.
And you're the real deal. And you have written a great book, and you're here today to talk about it. We're gonna fill this room up here in a few minutes.
Yeah.
And it's going to be on you to just knock us dead.
Oh, great. Thanks.
And you will.
My voice might get scratchy. I might need to take over.
Craig, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
for having us so much. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Good.
I will get this stuff out of your way, and
All right.
you go take a breath.
So good.
Thank you very much, Craig. Yes. As I said earlier, what a great guest Craig was with us. He was here for 2 days. We had a nice dinner with he and Brandon, a couple of dinners. And after he spoke, we actually made he and Brandon honorary instructors with BTrained. So here's a picture of them wearing their BTrained shirts officially after the event. Again, Craig, thank you so much for your time. You and Brandon have just blessed us with your presence here. And those of you watching, keep watching for more BCast and tune in to us at btrained.net to find out what we're doing next. Thank you.